Okay, this is going to be the Unit 1 review sheet, Topic 1. We're going to start with Topic 1A, which is function operations, so addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. So I've got two functions. I have f of x, which is x plus 6, and I have, this should say, g of x, which is 3x minus 5. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to replace everywhere it says f of x with x plus 6. So I'm going to go through right now and just highlight all of these f of x's in orange. And I'm going to go through and I'm going to replace everywhere it says g of x with 3x minus 5. So let's start with the subtraction problem. Again, whenever you are substituting, you need to substitute in parentheses. So I'm going to start by just putting some empty parentheses here because I know I'm replacing two things. I'm replacing g of x and f of x. So g of x is the same thing as 3x minus 5. I'm going to fill my parentheses with that. And f of x is the same thing as x plus 6. So now you can see why the parentheses are important, because I have the -1 really right here that I'm going to be distributing to everything in the parentheses, and that means I just switch the signs. So the first set, I can take everything out. There's nothing I'm doing outside those parentheses. This one, that positive x becomes a negative x, positive 6 becomes negative 6. And now I'm just combining like terms. So I have an x term and an x term. 3x minus x is 2x, and I have -5 and -6, which is -11. So g of x minus f of x equals 2x minus 11. Same thing here for f of x times g of x. I'm going to start by just putting in some empty parentheses because I know I'm going to be filling in stuff. So again, f of x is my orange, and f of x is x plus 6, so I'm going to fill that in. G of x is my yellow, which is 3x minus 5. Now I'm going to multiply. And so you could FOIL this. And in my class, we've talked a lot about if you tend to FOIL and make mistakes, we've talked about what's known as the box method. So let me refresh the box method. I have two terms here and two terms here, so I'm going to do a 2 by 2 box, and every term gets its own row or column. So I have x and 6 here, 3x and -5 here, and now I'm doing x times 3x, which is 3x squared. X times -5 is -5x. 6 times 3x is 18x, and 6 times -5 is -30. We do a quick check. We make sure all the boxes are filled, and then I check my diagonals, and I make sure my diagonals are like terms. And they are. 18x and -5x are like terms. So now I can take everything out of the box. And now I'm looking for like terms. I have an x squared, x, and x. So I have 3x squared minus 5x, plus 18x is 13x, and then minus 30. So that's my answer up here. I have 3x squared plus 13x minus 30. All right, last one. I'm doing division. So again, I am substituting. I'm going to just put some empty parentheses in. I'm replacing this f of x with what f of x equals, which is x plus 6. And I'm replacing g of x with what it equals, which is 3x minus 5. And there is no simplifying I can do here. So I am done. All right, so next, function composition. So function composition, remember we start from the inside. So I'm starting with this g of 4, and that's my input. But before I start even putting that in for f, I need to just figure out what is g of 4. So I'm looking at my g function, and g of 4 means that everywhere there is an x, I'm going to replace that x with a 4. So I've put my 4 in here where the x was, and then I've got 3 times 4, which is 12, and minus 5. So 12 minus 5, and that gives me 7. So that's g of 4. So g of 4 is 7. And then that is going in, right? I've got g of 4. So let's take a look here. G of 4, and this is g of 4. So now I'm looking for f of g of 4, and we said g of 4 is 7. So now I'm looking at my f function, and again, everywhere that there is an x, I'm going to replace that x with 7. So I'm going to put this empty parentheses in, replace x with 7. So f of 7 is 7 plus 6, or 13. And so this is actually f of g of 4 equals 13. Same thing here, f of negative 2. This is saying I need to look at my f function. I start from the inside, look at my f function, and everywhere there is an x, I am going to replace that x with negative 2. So here, in parentheses, negative 2, and I left parentheses for my x, negative 2. Negative 2 plus 6 is 4. So now, that's what's going inside, right? We're looking for f of negative 2, which is 4. So it's going to be g of 4. And now I'm looking at my g function, and I'm going to leave a blank spot where there's an x, because I'm taking out the x and I'm replacing it with 4. Put that in, I get 3 times 4 is 12, minus 5 is 7. So that means of f of negative 2 is 7.